I'm Kyle Bransfield, the founder of Union Acquisition Group. We are an investor in both private and public markets. We're here in a very proud way with one of our partners, Eternel, and we're excited to be here taping from Cape Canaveral, right here from the campus at NASA. How are you guys?
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Good. It would be great to start off by giving us a little bit of background on yourselves and maybe talking about Eternel and what it is.
Eternal, it's an innovation platform for changing the way that things are done now with industrial waste. And we're starting to do it with food. We call it our product microfood. We're doing a fungi-based biomass that we think that is the best way to make alternative proteins, and it's not only proteins because it also have fibers and fatty acids. And our aim is to change other industries like materials and bioplastics, biofuels. And
so that's a very broad market opportunity. It's really interesting. What about these industrial processes today need fixing?
I think they're really not sustainable. So sustainability is a thing that it's really needed, and synthetic biology can do a lot of can help a lot of doing this, and AI can really accelerate times, and less time is less waste, less everything.
Great. So it's basically trying to do more with less.
Exactly.
And creating systems and processes that take to help us to move away from in a global society from wasteful old industrial processes to the next generation. Scarce resources are obviously something that we talk about quite a bit. Also pollution and externalities that come with these industrial processes are a focus. It's fascinating, and I appreciate all the efforts you guys put into trying to change the world for the better.
Thanks. Me being a sociologist, I travel around the world a lot, not because I'm a sociologist, but I saw a lot of poverty and what poverty can do to mostly childs between 1 and 5 years old when the brain is building. So I think this has to be another or a better way to do proteins, right?
So this is the development stage of the human brain.
Yeah, because once they have 5, they already lost the match. So I start doing some research, and I just pump into this fungi, Fusarium venenatum, and start looking how to grow it. I started with common biology, and since we had worked before with AI, with Lucas, to do something really nothing to do with microorganisms, it was baseball cards.
Okay.
Yeah. So I called him. He said we had to see these things with computer vision and AI to do a better cultural media and to really know the organism, to mathematicize the organism.
I started reading every paper that was ever written about this microorganism, and then I had a lot of questions, like 200 questions, and I took a plane to Argentina, and I started speaking with Martin, our chief scientist. I followed him for like 1 complete day. After he finished work, he went to get his child, and I was still asking him questions. I had to understand everything about the process, and then at that point I was able to start proposing solutions on how to reduce the price and how to get to the market faster, because this microorganism can be found in nature, but we need to find a way to produce it at scale and in a very controlled environment. So that's why using artificial intelligence we can do all the optimizations, all the experiments we need, but instead of taking years, we can do it in just a matter of months or even weeks.
It's fascinating. Maybe you can talk to us about how practical this is, because it sounds really interesting and it sounds almost like a silver bullet. But
Yeah.
where are you in your development of the technology, and is it ready to be used?
Yeah, is it ready to be used? So we're doing some our first shipments now in late March, one to Singapore and the other one to Netherlands. What was great about this is that it's made in bioreactors, so it's really kind of agnostic of geopolitical stuff, like now is happening, and plagues, any kind of floods, any kind of weather issues, you know. So you just put it in a, I don't know, some place like that. You put all the bioreactors and you control the way that it grows. He optimized the way that it grows. And of course, we have the selling team. The demand is huge because of all the. We will be 10 billion. We will be 11 billion in any time soon. So the demand of proteins is huge.
Yep.
And of course of alternative proteins because of this trend. But it's really sustainable. And the other ways are not really sustainable. Not even the plant-based, you know.
You actually won the phase one of the
Yep.
NASA Food Challenge. NASA is focused not only on getting individuals to low orbit, but they are now focused on long trips,
Yep.
right? And one of the challenges is self-reliance during those trips and being able to produce food over the duration.
Yeah.
And so maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you're able to produce food on a space shuttle.
Sure. And here Pablo can even join us. Pablo Leon. We have partnered with the Leon Technologies in this challenge. And NASA had a very big problem. They had to produce food during long space travels. And that is something that is not possible to do with the technology they are using right now. So they started this open call for teams all over the world to propose solutions. We thought that this was perfect because our process is really efficient, and we could even use some byproducts of the spaceship to feed our process. So we started doing some modifications in our industrial design to try to make it work on a
So what you're saying is you're recycling some of the waste product and some of
Yeah.
the other parts of space travel
That's it.
to actually feed the production of food.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
For instance, the best way to absorb radiation is water. So we can use that water in our process. It's not absorbed, but it's a
Shield.
shield. So, and you said about sustainability. The thing is, we just need a carbon source and nitrogen source, a place that we can build our bioreactors, and it's sustainable because, as I told you, we almost use no land, and we use really less water than any other way of doing protein.
So I think you've made compelling cases as to how efficient it is to
Yeah.
produce your product. I think you've made the case that it's sustainable. Now, if you think about producing food on space travel or in space travel, there's almost no cost NASA won't pay. But in order to use this in the real world, is it cost efficient?
Yeah, it's really cost efficient. If you if you compare it with other kind of not alternative but traditional way of proteins, it's really the price is really good, better, and with the alternative ways, it's also kind of way better. Soy is kind of in the same price, but we think soy is like a little bit like doing mining, and it's open.
So there are major environmental
Yeah.
problems with growing products in the field and then shipping them across the world. Waste is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And really what you're doing is you're distributing food. The production can actually be in the same place that it's consumed. I'm not sure if our viewers know, but about 50% of produce, for example, is wasted in transit.
Yep.
And so this is quite impactful. And also the water usage that's
Yep.
wasted in just that process is substantial. So very interesting. But getting back to the cost, what you're
Yeah.
saying is that it's about as cost effective as growing soy.
And we will be, we will get down there. We will.
So your technological roadmap gets you to a
Yeah.
point where you're cost effective relative to soy. Now, how about the nutritional element of what you're producing? How does that compare to soy or other alternatives?
It's actually better than soy. And our nutritional profile is just excellent. It's a complete food. We have all the essential amino acids, and it's food. It's not just protein. We also have fiber. You also have fats.
And is there a way to quantify it in a simple term? Is it 3 times more nutritious than soy?
It's not really simple. No, because there's one thing called PDCast. Is this saying, you are what you eat, but you are not what you eat. You are what you absorb. So the PDCast is it's a ratio of what you absorb. Our PDCast is like 92, and for instance, I don't know, quinoa is about 60, 70. So the nutritional profile, the amino acids is way better, and the way that we absorb it is easy to absorb than any other alternatives.
Yeah.
So it gives you.
And it's a very important fact that also differentiates us. Our microorganism, because of its structure, and that structure is something that we can modify, has some fibers that are very similar to tuna or even chicken. If you're working with soy, first of all you have to get rid of the flavor, and then you have to extrude it to get the texture. With our microorganism, we don't have any flavor, we don't have any odor, and you have the texture right out of the bioreactor.
You touch on really important points to the alternative food adoption, which is taste, texture, and odor.
Yeah.
How does your product compare to Impossible, for example, and in these areas of taste, texture, and odor?
As he said, is almost tasteless and odorless. So it's like a white canvas, for us or for companies, for chefs to create on that. The texture is really good, and we can manage that texture. That's one of the things that we do really different. We can do textures more carnic, for carnic products. We can do other types of texture, more for dairy, and just really from scratch. So we don't have to afterwards do a lot of post-processing, and being so neutral fragrances and flavor, you can add any kind of flavor and fragrances. There's a lot of companies doing that. They are in this space. So of course, any company, our company now is a B2B company. So the idea is for them to, if they use what kind of flavors and fragrances they use, if they're really natural or non-GMO, that our organism is non-GMO, it's totally vegan.
Excellent. So I think what you're saying is this is a B2B business.
Yep.
Eternel doesn't want to go head to head with the major branded consumer products, but rather you want to be an ingredient
Yep.
to those brands.
Yeah.
So there's room for everyone to play and win with
Yeah.
Eternel as a raw material.
We think so, yeah. We think so that we are seeing it. We're seeing we have a lot of demand, and because
We're receiving great feedback.
Excellent. And so
Yeah.
where are you in terms of your business? Are you 5 years away from revenue generation? And have you had conversations with established players in the industry? Where are you guys?
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations. We have some signed agreements. We have a lot of LOIs, and as I told you, we're starting shipping, and we are looking around the world CDMOs to do this. For do this for us, we did even something that I cannot disclose.
Yep.
In order for us to can use those CDMOs, and in the meanwhile we're building our facilities, but we are doing it right now. So and I think this year we will. Miguel, our CFO, will be better talking about this, but we think our company will be sustainable, maybe even from scratch, you know. So
by the end of the year, we should be.
So you guys are shipping, you have contracts signed, and you're generating revenue this year, and possibly even EBITDA positive.
Yep. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and food is just the beginning. You're doing a lot of research in different areas.
Yeah, so you have applications that are broad, right? The food market is massive, and obviously addresses a major global issue of how do you do more with fewer global resources. Yeah. Obviously a growing population, wars can impact logistics and prices of wheat and soy. What are the other applications for your technology?
We're looking like to do a platform. Our next application will be materials like leather or bricks for construction. We're looking at even spider silk, bioplastics. That's all in materials. But it's also dyes, flavors and fragrances too. We can all do all this by synthetic biology. Our idea is to put synthetic biology and AI to work in towards to do all things in the industrial way, to do more, to take capex and opex of everything like mechanical, electrical, and stuff, to do more bioprocesses. They can be tailor-made, those microorganisms, to do the things that usually were made with machines, you know. So it will take some time, but we'll get there. And we are there in some ways, in materials we're really new to deliver.
And you guys are venture-backed. You have received equity capital investment, obviously from Union.
Yeah, of course.
And how do you feel about your capital position today, and you know, your needs to ramp up, and where do you see yourself in 2 years?
So we need capital at this point to start building our own plants to produce microfood and to improve our margins, and also to back up all our research. We have a great multidisciplinary team, and we are able to get into a field that has been working in the same way for a lot of time, like food, and applying new technology, and that makes a huge difference.
Sorry. And we're really glad, because of the first question, that we are backed by the Union Group, because it's a way to be assured that we are in the right path, right? Mm-hmm. So, and of course, and we are looking for raising more money for doing all this other stuff that we talk about, materials, doing our own facilities, and we would like to have a really big footprint in a really short time.
Yep.
And this whole idea started when I had it, to decentralize the production of protein. You know, today protein might be like, I don't know, we have soy or something, grass that our
so a tremendous amount of negative externalities, right? Deforestation in Brazil, the loss, as I mentioned, of water and wasted materials as it travels from coast to coast or over the sea.
Shipping water.
The idea of distributed energy, producing where you consume, is a very powerful one.
Yeah, thanks. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, guys, you have created an incredible platform. As I said, this is probably my favorite business. I'm excited to be a part of it. And I really thank you guys for taking the time to speak with me.
No,
thank you very much. We are very happy to have the support of Union Group. Smart
Excellent.
money can get us to the next level.
Thank you so much. I want to shift gears here, because we are clearly in the life sciences lab at NASA. And one of the things you're focused on is creating nutritious foods that also taste good for NASA. Can you tell us a little bit about that initiative?
Yes, we are doing a joint venture with Pablo de Leon Technologies to make this happen. We won phase 1 of the NASA Deep Space Food Challenge with him, and we are now here because we are starting the phase 2. As you said, in space is more scarcity is more than here in Earth, right? And sustainability has to be way better.
Yeah. Our process is really efficient, so we thought maybe we can use it into a spaceship to use some of the resources that they are not using right now. There are not a lot of them because at NASA they're trying to use everything they can to try to feed our system and produce food for long duration space travel.
It's fascinating. Pablo, you're obviously here with some folks that are focused on food. As I understand it, your company's been around space for quite some time. Would you mind giving us a little bit of background on who you are and what your company does?
Sure. Well, I have been working in space all my life. I have more than 30 years of professional experience working as an engineer first and later as a professor of space studies. Also, I'm a professor at the Department of Space Studies at the University of North Dakota. And 20 years ago, I created the Leon Technologies, which is a company based here in Cape Canaveral. And mainly I have been doing research and development under different NASA contracts. My main area of research is spacesuits, which is not necessarily related to space nutrition, but as we are now moving into this new era of space development and space exploration, we're moving away from what is considered the low Earth orbit. Now we're thinking about going back to the moon, going to Mars, and exploring the asteroids eventually. So we need to kind of find strategies to reduce our dependence from the Earth. And one of the most important dependencies we have is nutrition. How do we feed the astronauts in space? So part of this joint venture that we have here with Eternel is about trying to develop prototypes of systems that can provide that food, and particularly protein food that resemble what we eat here on Earth, because NASA right now have kind of figured out how to produce plants in space and keep plants growing in microgravity environment. But you need more than that in order to endure a long duration space flight. And that's where how do you get your beef from? Where do you get a burger on the moon or Mars?
Right.
And can you get a fried chicken in a off-world destination? And right now the substitutes that are plant-based are not good at all. They taste awful and they are very difficult to produce.
Well, there are a lot of astronauts over in the next area over that are applauding right now.
right, exactly. So I believe after I had contact with Horacio and what Eternel was doing, I said, well, this is a great chance. And in the middle of that, NASA created this Food Deep Space Challenge. They are trying to solve these issues, how NASA is going to provide food for long duration space flight. So we form kind of a joint venture between their company and mine, and we won the first phase of this NASA challenge, and now we're competing for the second one. And if we won the second one, that put us in place to start providing nutritional solutions for long duration space flights as part of the Artemis project.
So quite literally, if you win, this could be used to feed astronauts in deep space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fascinating stuff.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, we did an analog mission with Pablo in North Dakota, and they tried the food during this analog mission. Fortunately, they like it.
Yes, yeah. We have a simulation. It's like a base that simulates how you will live on a base on the moon or Mars, and we have people there performing 2 weeks or 1 month analog mission, which is basically a simulation of what that will be. So we grow plants, etc. But we never had the chance to test one of these foods. So we did that during the last mission. It went very well. The crew really liked it. They said that it was really, tastes like chicken. So now we're looking forward into incorporating that more into these analog missions, and in the future, like you mentioned, the possibility of incorporating them into Artemis missions to the moon and Mars and beyond.
This sounds like a lot of expensive research and development, and I see a lot of big buildings here in Cape Canaveral. Could you explain kind of what these resources are that you're using and how they enhance your R&D? Is it helpful to you to have access to these sorts of resources?
Well, the fact of being in Florida, which is considered a space state for the last 50 years or so, is very important because there is the infrastructure that we need to that can be shared with other researchers, but it will cost many millions of dollars in order to set that infrastructure for us. So at this point, we can share equipment that is already in place, and that reduce the cost of development.
And everything you learn here, is it owned by you, the intellectual property?
Well, for the part of Eternel, I'll let them answer that question.
What we learned, I think all the IP is from us, and
so NASA provides the resources and the capital-intensive equipment that would cost tens of millions of dollars outside of this infrastructure. And you develop the technologies, but you own the technology, and so you can use this technology for commercial purposes later on.
It's not only for us. There's a lot of companies here in the life science.
And it uses the same model that, for example, SpaceX uses with Elon Musk. NASA provides the know-how and provides the contract and facilities, and then the business can take off like SpaceX or other companies did, right? And then the benefit is for everybody, because now, thanks to the innovations of SpaceX, United States again have indigenous spaceflight capabilities that before we had to rely on Russia to launch our NASA astronauts, which is unbelievable.
So, in other words, this is a private-public partnership that helps to advance the development of technologies, and also helps to extend or execute on the strategic vision of NASA itself.
Absolutely, it's a win-win, because there is a specific problem that NASA needs to be solved. And also we have the interest to create a business out of it, so everybody wins here.
It's fantastic.
And it's an amazing time to be here. It's like 5 years ago, it wasn't a space-minded enterprises, and now there's growing this space because of SpaceX, and all the other companies that are feeding these ventures. And I don't know.
I call it kind of like it's like a space renaissance.
We're
living now in it's different than the 60s during the Apollo program, because now you see it's not just a government venture, but there are a lot of companies that are creating innovation and adding value to their products.
Would you say that brings an influx of human capital, skilled labor, of people that you would want to hire? And the other thing I'd bring up is that we're not in Silicon Valley. We're not in some laboratory in Menlo Park, but rather we're in a low-tax state in the United States, right here in Florida.
Yes, absolutely, yes. So, I see it all the time with some of my students, the number of people that move here to Florida with an advanced degree, with a master's or a PhD, just to work in the space industry. So that's, it's creating value for the state as well.
That must be great for recruiting.
It is.
Excellent.
It is. And he being in North Dakota State University, that is the
University of North Dakota. It's a different one.
I hear they have a prairie dog problem out there.
A prairie dog, yes, we do in the summer, yes.
It's the first aerospatial.
It's the first aerospace program in the country. So it's funny because you're up there in North Dakota. What do you have to do with Florida? But we provide a lot of engineers specializing in space systems here to the Kennedy Space Center.
That's fantastic. And do you with De Leon Technologies and then Eternel, are you accessing those people from time to time? Have you been able to rely on that relationship?
Yes, and we, over there they have also a business incubator and availability of different kind of help through labs or faculty members who want to collaborate with this. In fact, Horacio a few months ago was in North Dakota with me, and we had meetings with the people of the companies association in biology, yeah, and a number of relationships that we are building as a result of that. So it's a very good kind of coordination of different players that are all interested on these projects to develop.
Seems like a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, very much so.
As a matter of fact, I'll be doing a speak. I don't know if you
in the Space Act conference. Yes, next month.
Next month, the 13th of April. There's the Space Agriculture Conference, the second one. They did the first one over there.
Many people from NASA from here are going to that conference.
Excellent. It's great to see. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So guys, we talked about the broad application for your technology. It's almost overwhelming. We talked about using your technology to improve industrial processes generally, from materials to food, even to transportation, etc. Could you tell us a little bit more about the various industries that you think you can disrupt?
Sure. I think that an important point to mention here is that artificial intelligence and also robotics have been used in the industry for some years, but they only perform very simple and repetitive tasks. At Eternel, we are developing a platform that is able to learn about what the scientists and professionals are doing and then apply that information and these models to the industrial process. So there are a lot of opportunities here because this can be applied to literally everything.
Of course, artificial intelligence will change the landscape of everything that touches, right? But combining that with synthetic biology, we think it will be like really powerful. And the industries that can be changed are endless. We are now aiming, of course, to food and afterwards materials and bioplastics and even jet fuel. It can be done in this way. Maybe we can get some jet fuel for some rocket here in NASA, and I think we see ourselves in a couple of years doing, of course, Eternal Foods going starting or being already being an established company and doing all the research and development that we had to do, and maybe already launching materials and doing all the research and development that we need to do the other things that we have in the pipeline.
That's fascinating. There's just so many opportunities for you and for your technology, and obviously, as such, that probably brings a tremendous value to your company. How do you think about navigating the next 24 months? Are you going to go public? Do you want to just stay focused on food and execute? What are your plans for the next 24 months?
We would like to the first year maybe focus on food, and it will be great to go public. Going public with your help, of course, of the union group. Going public allows institutional money to get into these new things. They cannot found through VCs or something like new startups, and I think this way of doing things that you have in the union group allow this institutional corporations and not corporations. Sorry, my bad English. Yeah, institutional investors to get early in this kind of new ventures.
Yeah.
That they don't have so many vehicles to do this.
Yeah, I think you're right on. I think not every business needs to go through the dilutive capital raising process of the venture pathway.
Yeah.
You and your company have multinational contracts with multinational corporations.
Yep.
You will be generating revenue this year, but also you may even be EBITDA positive this year. All the while having tremendous applications for your technology. Sometimes that allows you to skip steps. And I think it's probably an opportunity for you to raise capital now from institutional investors that other companies have had to grow into over a much longer period of time.
Yeah, and I'm not really well versed in all these capital markets things, but I saw a lot of companies really going through that process of BC series, seed series, A series, B series, and the CEO and the CFO just they are focused on that, and they can't focus on really what really matters, doing the product and doing a great product.
Yeah, there are pros and cons to the
Yeah,
process.
of course.
In some ways, you can get organized, and it's good to have intelligent outside investors and oversight. In other ways, it can be distracting.
Yeah.
And it can be distracting from the core focus of a business, which is to produce an interesting and innovative product to deliver on an unmet need. And
Exactly.
and I find it fascinating to talk with you guys, because you guys are 100% focused on solving problems as opposed to dealing with lawyers and bankers.
Thanks.
Well, thanks again, guys.
No,
Really
thank you.
appreciate it, and keep doing the good work that you are.
Thanks so much.